Well, following along on that note, I'm talking about the law of action and reaction today. I know. Oh, great. The ancients told us that we cannot escape our karma. That's the good news. They said that whatever we are doing at the present moment, we are doing to ourselves, and that this in turn is going to affect others. Nasruddin the Sufi was at a football game. He had been shouting until halftime, and he became thirsty. So he said, "I'm going to get a drink of water." And so the friend that listened to him said, "Well, get one for me too." And in a few minutes, Nasruddin came back, and he said, "I tried to have a drink of water for you." This is so funny. "I tried to have a drink of water for you, but I found after I had had my own drink that you were not thirsty after all." 2,500 years ago, imagine, that's a long time. 2,500 years ago, Buddha said, "You are the result of your thinking. Whatever you are now is because of your thoughts. All that we have ever done will reach us one day at another shore as echoes of our former songs. Whatever you sow, you reap." In the teaching, this is called karma. It is also understood as cause and effect. Sometimes it seems as if we live in a random universe that's composed of accidental and haphazard events and experiences, that our movement from heaven to hell, from the heights of elation to the depths of despair, appear intractable and unpredictable. We use words like luck and fate and destiny and victim to make sense of the variety of experiences that just seem to happen. They just happen to us. Lost in either despair or exhilaration, we do not see the threads of cause and effect, these threads that weave the tapestry of our life. This tapestry of cause and effect is also called karma. So karma is simply the law of cause and effect. If you plant an apple seed, you don't get a eucalyptus tree. If we practice hatred or greed, it becomes our way, and the world responds accordingly. If we practice awareness and loving kindness, it becomes our way, and the world responds accordingly. Like an artist before an easel, we paint the landscape of our life with the colors of our thoughts, our values, our actions, and even our feelings. The quality of our life is flavored by the quality of each feeling, each gesture. We are actually heirs to the result of our actions, to the intentions that we bring to every moment that we initiate. We make ripples upon the ocean of the universe through our very presence. Understanding the implications of our presence in the universe encourages us to see the importance of being awake and aware in each moment of our lives. As a conscious participant in the creation of each moment of the world we live in, we must simply live within the understanding that whatever we sow, we reap. The law of action and reaction is the law of cause and effect. It is the law of karma. Can we escape from our karma? Do you think it can be done? Well, the teachings say yes. It is possible to escape, but it is difficult. Strong individuals rise above outer conditions and shape their karma in spite of the conditions. So Plato, who was ahead of humanity by many stages of evolution, was one that was able to rise above outer conditions. But for weak spirits, their consciousness is determined by the circumstances of their life. Yet strong spirits create and transform their surroundings rather than walking along the well-worn-out ruts of the world around them. See, in there lies our answer, the yes answer. Strong spirits. It is very important to recognize that there is no moment in our lives in which we do not engage in some kind of action, physically, emotionally, mentally. We are always in action, even if we are in a state of inaction. For example, when a symphony of musicians are performing, let's say, a composition by Mozart, and Mozart created a measure of rest for the whole of the orchestra in his composition, even though the fact is that the music is silent for 1 or 2 or 3 measures, the musicians are still in action. This means that we are continuously in a state of action, whether we are asleep, awake, dead, or alive. All that we have ever done will reach us one day as echoes of our former songs. In other words, the echoes of our actions and reactions, the echoes of cause and effect. What you do, say, or think today will in some way have an effect on your life or lives as an echo, be good or bad. The law of karma transcends the limitations of time. The law of karma is also the law of absolute justice and righteousness. This is translated by saying, whatever you sow, you will reap. This is so on 3 levels, not just the physical, but also emotional and mental. Sometimes it is 1 or 2 levels or 1 or 2 echoes, and sometimes all 3, and sometimes just 1. The words we speak, the feelings and thoughts that we have, and the actions that we perform physically are all registered forever in our energy field. Not as words or letters, but electrical impulses. This is something to really think about. What is an electrical impulse? How is that recognized, and how does it come back to us? Is the law of karma, electrical impulses. These impulses may travel quickly or slowly. After a certain distance, they turn back. This is important. After a certain distance, they turn back with a different charge. with a different charge and eventually reach the source of origination. The originating source may be on a higher or lower level, which makes a difference in the process of our response. It's not easy. To understand the law of karma is not easy, except reaction, action and reaction, reaction and action. So the action goes out, becomes an electrical impulse, which magnetically eventually comes back and finds us. And depending on whether it's one echo or two echoes or three echoes, or from above or below, depends on the impact, the duration, and the length of the effect. So that electrical impulse may not come back to our shore for 4 or 5 lifetimes. For example, when you created the action, good or bad, your consciousness was at one level of expression. When the electrical impulse of the situation turns back and reaches you, you may be on a higher or even a lower level of consciousness, which makes a difference in the process of your response. If an action is a good action, it brings those reactions that opens our way toward greater joy, greater beauty, greater goodness, greater harmony, greater mastery, and greater knowledge. If an action is a bad action, it brings greater difficulties and problems on our life's path, so that eventually we learn to take right action. Remember, karma is the law of cause and effect, or the law of action and reaction. It operates on all levels. It operates on the physical plane as well as on the emotional and mental planes of existence. In the light of such knowledge, it is possible to plan our future life as we want it to be. Exactly as we create the plans for a huge building or a vision or a goal, so that we can plan our life and live according to the requirements of that plan. So how can we escape from our karma? It can be paid or finished through heroic actions and great sacrificial deeds. This is why it is so important to escape our karma. Master M says, energy and will are the rulers of karma. He who renounces self, he who strives for the common good, who is devoted in battle, joyous in labor, acquires momentarily the arhat's enlightenment, which makes him lord of his karma. Once the lower nature, the self, is renounced, it is then we become the masters of our karma. So there are two main approaches to karma. One is when karma controls us, and 2, when we control the karma. Control of karma is achieved when all separative motives and actions are eliminated by a person's own being, and their whole life is dedicated to the common good, serving the common good. The Master M defines the qualities of those seeking the common good, saying, he says, I shall specify the qualities distinctive in those seeking the common good. He says, first is the constancy of striving. Interestingly, striving is a word that is part of the threads of the tapestry that make the teaching. I have a compilation on striving of nearly 500 pages. 500 pages, you can imagine. So, constancy of striving. The second is the ability of containment. For poor is he who denies, but the seeker of truth is worthy to work for the common good. Third, the ability to labor, because the majority do not know the value of time. Fourth, the desire to help without prejudice and without usurpation. Fifth, renunciation of a sense of ownership, along with readiness to safeguard the fruit of other people's creativity. Sixth, the expulsion of fear. And seventh, the display of vigilance in the midst of darkness. And two, it is also possible that a person can take control upon himself the collective karma of others. That's pretty big. This is found in the book Agni Yoga, verse 417. It is also possible that a person can take upon himself the collective karma of others. Such is the case of great avatars who come and take upon their shoulders the heavy karma of humanity. The collective karma of great masses of people. They pay the consequences consciously, willingly, and joyously. Just imagine that, being that great. We can always modify karma or cause minor or major changes in it according to our power of sacrifice and our will to serve the common good. Most of our karma, though, cannot be changed unless we realize the consequences of our actions and take the necessary steps to modify them. See, this takes so much effort, and the effort is concentration, awareness, awakeness of all that we say and do and act. And this is why it is so difficult to take control over our karma. In society today, we are so distracted by outer events and situations. The media, there's just noise. And that noise begins to penetrate in our own thinking process until we default into what I call numlock. We become lazy in our thinking, lazy in our concentration, lazy in taking this sense of responsibility for all that we do and say and act, because we're exhausted. It has to do with noise and pollution of what we can see and not see, what we can hear and not audibly hear, but the noise is still there. So this is why it's so difficult to change our karma or to modify the karma. This may seem dramatic, but one is never or rarely the victim. When is one never or rarely the victim of circumstances? Thus, it is important that we always review our actions and feelings and thoughts daily. Once we notice the motives behind all of our actions and their consequent effects on others, we can take the first steps to the process of mastering our karma. Either paying it or paying the karma or increasing our credit. So this is why it takes, what is the word? So many people use mindfulness. This takes mindfulness. Usually, when someone attacks us or treats us rudely or belittles us in some way, we become so distracted by their action that we lose awareness. We're no longer awake. We're no longer mindful of how we can take control, over our reaction, physically, emotionally, mentally. We have all had the experience at some time that we are able to escape real danger in seconds. This reverse can also happen. When there was a big earthquake in San Francisco many years ago, a family afraid that aftershocks would destroy San Francisco, they moved to another state. As they were driving in their big van, they had a fatal accident and the whole family was killed. The great sage MM said, if karma is to be diverted, if karma be diverted, it will react against thee. This is why we cannot escape karma very easily. The travail, he goes on to say, the travail of the spirit is the one ladder of the shortest way. The suffering of a decade is crowded into a day in the lives of the chosen ones. Let me reread this. It's so powerful. And it's from Elisa Moria's Garden, verse of the call, verse 232. If karma be diverted, it will react against thee. The travail of the spirit is the one ladder of the shortest way. The suffering of a decade is crowded into a day in the lives of the chosen ones. So the bottom line is that it is rare to escape our karma, even though it is possible. So let us say that the best way to face our karma is to have a savings account of good karma. I remember one day, a long time ago, when my children were ornery as all get out, and they had left for school, and I went back to bed. And my little schnauzer Duchess woke me up barking. Well, the whole condo was filled with smoke. That's good karma, collective karma. The dog woke me up. I ran downstairs, and one of the boys that had decided to try smoking had put the cigarette out, but not really. And it was burning through the wooden part of the kitchen cabinet. So I had to call the fire department, of whom my husband was a volunteer. And here I am standing out in my pajamas as his friends come rushing. So the good and bad, you know. Yeah. What is the purpose of karma? Purification. Paying our karma purifies our personality, cleanses our debts, and gives us a new chance to proceed on the path of greater enlightenment and joy. In many scriptures, pain and suffering are called gifts of God, or the messengers of God who bring good news, meaning the news of releasing us from the deeds of our past that were not in harmony with divine intent. We may ask the question, is it possible for people to hurt us in spite of the fact that we do not deserve it, or to help us without our being worthy of it? The answer is that if people intentionally hurt us, they may be operating under the influence of dark forces to limit our service, to prevent us from applying our usefulness to a given task, or to stop us from carrying out a great service that we are trying to render. The damage they inflict on us goes to our credit. At a later time, this credit can protect us from a still greater attack. The thing is, we have to recognize it. And my experience is that these attacks can happen that are seemingly small, particularly when you're younger and you're full of life and vigor and enthusiasm and a sense of future. And one day a friend tries to intervene with a vision you have of what you want to become. It doesn't really cause a reaction yet from you, but the importance of that person, important to you in your life, plants a seed of doubt. Then later, as your vision begins to unfold, see that seed of doubt now is being nurtured by another person coming in and saying, you know, I'm not sure what you're doing is right. Another energy is put in, let's say, fertilizer is added to that seed, and now the seed is starting to blossom because the sun is shining on your vision. Now is when the echoes, 1 or 2 or 3 echoes of karma, may come upon you, or if you are serving the common good, now the echoes of karma from those around and about you, it can be even the karma of a great one that you are serving, is now coming to magnifying, pulling through the law of magnetic attraction to your vision. If your vision is influencing humanity, we have to be mindful of what is happening so we don't allow doubt to defeat us, and have confidence in that vision that we had or were given when we were back in the days of our youth. That's how you take control of karma. You're serving the common good. Now, on the other hand, when we receive help from somebody, it goes directly into our debit. It puts greater responsibility on our shoulders if we do not pay it back in a form of service or to help others, or even to help the same person who helped us. It is almost impossible to know whether it is our karma or not when someone hurts us or helps us directly. The only indication that can be applied for our clear understanding is that when we are hurt without karma, we will recover very soon. When we are hurt without karma, in other words, that hurtful episode or situation is not our karma, we recover very soon, and the damage done turns into profit. It opens greater opportunities for us to bloom. It helps our evolution, and it turns into an asset for us. So there are two very important factors which contribute to our karmic account. One is criticism, and the other is nosiness. Criticism interferes with the karma of others. Think of this. Criticism interferes with the karma of others and creates, in some cases, violent reactions. This, of course, is destructive criticism. When we criticize, we force and try to impose our will upon others. If we succeed in making them act the way we want them to act, then their mistakes are added to our account. That's why I tell grandparents, when you are suffering because of the actions of your young grandchildren, and I tell them, let the parents take care of the children, you just sit by and love them. So their mistakes are not added to your account. Nosiness. The teaching always emphasizes mind your own business. Do not interfere with the privacy of others, because nosiness creates karma. Everyone must learn their own lessons and must conduct their private life the way they want. The way they live should be their own way of experimentation. They're experimenting with their life. Nosiness is different from criticism. It is a way to collect information from others, and I see this so often. That the information people collect on us, on our friends, our family, and co-workers will be used later against them, knowingly or unknowingly. Or it is a way to use their failures or errors for their gain, their personal benefit. The great sage says, I know nothing worse than to cross the neighbor's path. What is the fastest way to pay karmic debts? Love. Isn't that interesting? Love is the fastest and the safest way to pay karmic debts. Love creates triple interest. Talk to your financial advisor about this. Love creates a triple interest in our bank account. and never produces negative karma. But be careful. We know, of course, that many distorted people are also talented enough to use their hatreds and poisons under the label of love. Greater love is proved through greater sacrifice, self-renunciation, and greater humility. I was thinking of the painting by Nicholas Rourke called Treasure of the Mountain. And if you remember that painting, where, has the big crystal formations, toward the front, and then in the back of the painting, all the colors change into like a golden yellow. And there are three main figures, and the main figure is holding the chalice. And then the figures in front of him, and then you have a gathering of other people over here. What really struck me with that painting is how those that are gathered around the three and the one that's holding the chalice all have their head bowed. Humility. And at the same time, this is, subject to interpretation, but in the foreground, there are two guards, and on a rock, it looks like there is a computer screen. So I say, you have to use your imagination a little bit. That computer screen to me, is a mirror. And that mirror is how the great ones will reflect ideas and visions to us and observe us. So I saw that way Nicholas Rourke had painted that image of the mirror or a computer screen, and doubtful that. But the mirror was to look at those standing in humility for the common good, receiving in the chalice the vision, the ideas, the beauty of what humanity can experience in the coming evolution. And those that are there with their heads bowed in humility are open and receptive to the idea of the plan. Christ was divine enough to give all that he was for this salvation of the world. The same sacrificial spirit can be found in the hearts of all true leaders. Their lives are demonstrations of ways and means to free ourselves from our self-made prisons and miseries. So in conclusion, the greatest lesson that we can learn from the law of karma is to work hard and make our life a field of service for humanity, because it is only through labor and striving in service that we can overcome our limitations and surpass ourselves. Now here's a beautiful story. Let me close with this. One night, thieves entered a guru's house and took whatever they happened to find. From his room, the guru watched them, but did not do anything to stop them. When they were through, they took some utensils, and among them a jug, which was from which a sick man, maybe, who knows, a sick man had drunk that evening from this jug, who was sick, and he drank from the jug. Okay. The guru ran after him. "My good people," he said, "whatever you have found here, I beg of you to regard as gifts from me. I do not begrudge these things to you at all, But please be careful about that jug. The breath of a sick man is clinging to it, and you might catch his disease. From this time on, the Guru said every evening before going to bed, he said, all my possessions are common property, so that in case thieves come again, they would not be guilty of theft. Yeah, powerful. So that's karma.